Alright, good morning, people of YouTube. So, as I'm sure you all know, Ultimate Cup sold out in less than 30 seconds. So, I did not manage to confirm my ticket. But if I did, this is the deck that I have that I've put the most work into that I think would give me the strongest chance of winning the Ultimate Cup. This is Blue Hybrid with both Magnagarurumon and Azulongmon in the main deck. So that is the main thing that makes this deck different. It is highly adaptive and highly fluid. It can play into any deck and any situation very, very well, just because of the versatility and the number of diverse options and Digimon in the deck. So we'll go ahead and get into some of my card choices and what makes this unique. So if you guys like this kind of content, make sure you guys subscribe and like the video and comment and all that jazz, and let's go ahead and get into the choices. So for the eggs, I got 4 copies of Kiaramon and a single copy of Upamon. Kiaro is a better egg this format. You play 5 just in case you play against a grindy yellow hybrid matchup. But Kiaro is just better to have under your Floodgate rookies, and you are oftentimes not attacking with your Floodgate rookies until you get a second one. So a lot of the times they just sit there, so Kiaramon just gives you passive advantage. So those are our level 2s. We're going to do the Digimon top down. So in the main deck, I got 2 copies of Magnagarurumon and 1 copy of Azulongmon for the level 6s. So Azulongmon is absolutely nuts into any deck that wants to go wide. Azulongmon will punish them for playing the game the way they want to play it, because the more Digimon they get in play, the harder this guy hits. And this guy oftentimes just takes out entire security stacks in one blow, and Digivolves for like only 1 or sometimes even free. So that's absolutely insane. Magnagarurumon is a card that you don't really see in a lot of blue hybrid lists anymore, and I understand why. You have to build the deck a specific way, and building the deck this way makes it a little bit less consistent. But that's why I built it to accommodate both of these cards. Because if you're not leaning into the full Magna package, and sometimes Magna's just a card that you evolve on top of either a Koji or sometimes a Beowulf, you can swing games just off of your opponent not expecting it. Plus, this card just gives a massive amount of control to Blue that Blue didn't really have access to. You can bounce their Bokos back, you can bounce any of their hybrids back and force them to evolve on top of more Tamers. And all the while, this card is unsuspending itself for doing it. So this is absolutely insane. It triggers your Koji's effect to gain extra memory for free. And it's just a really, really good control card. But the reason that we play it in the main deck is because it's easier to have all of your hybrid support in the main and side it out than it is to side all those cards in. So there are a lot of times where we'll side the Magnagarurumon out and side in the second copy of Azulong. And there are a lot of times that we'll side Azulong out to make room for more of the options that we have in the sideboard. So I felt like this ratio was the best, and it kind of explains the ratios that we have going forward with the level 3s and 4s. So these are my big boss monsters. The other big boss monster of the deck is 4 copies of Beowulfmon, because this is the best card in Blue Hybrid, without a doubt. And Beowulfmon is just absolutely absurd. You should definitely be playing 4 of this card if you're playing this deck. We got 4 copies of Korikaku and 4 copies of Kumamon, and then the single copy of Kendogarurumon is as our level 4s. So, like I said, it is easier to put the hybrid support in the main deck and side it out rather than put it in the sideboard and side it in, which is why we see Kendogarurumon in the slot. We did want to include more hybrids in name, so that way we could put more sources under Koji if we have to make that play. And this card is really good for bouncing Floodgates back. There are a lot of times that you'll keep this in your deck for game 2 and 3, just to bounce cards like Midoki Beta in the mirror match, and Gazimons against purple and stuff like that. So this is a really good card, and you know, a lot of people side into it, so it's nice having it in the main in a lot of games and in a lot of matchups. And then these guys are your stock standard level 4s that you'll see in every list. They're both absolutely absurd. So going on to the level 3s, we got 2 copies of Brokomon, because it's absolutely absurd. We don't search as often, or we don't need to search as often off of Bokomon, because we also play the 4 copies of Strabi, which is why we can get away with only playing 2. And we also have cards like Hammer Spark and Howling Memory Boost to gain us memory. So the gain memory effect isn't as important in this deck either, as it is in some hybrid matchups, but Bokomon is an absolutely absurd card. Strabimon is Bokomon with the disadvantage that it doesn't gain you memory whenever you Digivolve over Tamers, but it has the advantage of also being a hybrid, so you can search it off of its own effect, and you can also slap it under Koji for your big Magnagarurumon plays. We also play 2 copies of the BT6 Strabimon. This is a really good card to put in your raising area. You can also just evolve Kumamon on top of this card to get the source strip, because you'll have a hybrid in your source, and you will also be able to swing and then gain a memory off of this. So the Kumamon essentially only evolved for 1. So I do really like this card. It is absolutely nuts if you can put multiple copies of this card under a Magnagaruru. But the other level 3s in the deck are just better, so I only wanted to make room for 2 copies of this card. But this card having 3,000 power does come in clutch, because 3,000 just happens to live security like 50% of the time whenever you swing in. So that's a really key number. So I do like this card, especially for going on the offense as well. And it's been putting in work, but I wouldn't bump it up to 3, since I'm not going into the full Magna package. For the rest of the level 3s, we got 4 copies of Syakomon and 3 copies of Madoki Betamon. So the other copy of Madoki Beta is in the sideboard. The reason we are playing the full playset of Sayako in the main, again, is because of that 3,000 power. This card you can get aggressive with very, very often, and you will a lot of the times if you're playing against anything that isn't a hybrid matchup, because this card is really, really good into any hybrid matchup because of it stops their level 5s from being played for 1. But anything else, this is just a level 3 beater. And yeah, these are the rookies I play. This lineup has been working well for me. There are a lot of the times that if you're siding the Magnas out, you're siding the Kendos out and these Strabis out, and you can go into the full 5 cards in your sideboard that way, and it's really nice. Because it gives you full access to that Azulong package. But this is really, really good for providing control, providing a full amount of hybrids that you can slap under Koji with Magna, and, just accomplishing everything that the deck needs to do. So, moving right along, we got the Tamers. I only play 2 copies of Koji in the main. This is a really good card to evolve on top of, even without the warp effect. Just gaining a memory whenever you strip a source and draw a card off of Kiaramon, because this will trigger off of cards like Kiaramon and Upa. Just gaining extra memory is just really, really nice. And having a Koji floating on board is never a bad idea. We play 4 copies of Tommy because Tommy is absolutely broken. Bandai, please nerf. We have 3 copies of Davis. Davis is a lot of fun. This card is absurdly expensive right now, and that's, fair because it's such a good card, and it's only going to get better in the upcoming months. So, 3 is the ideal number in pretty much every deck. I only play 3 copies of Sora Joe. I've tested 4, and I really did like it, but in this list, I kept seeing too many copies, and I didn't want to keep hard playing them. So I did cut it to 3, and I did add the 2-cost map. I've seen a lot of players play it. I kind of stole this idea from them. I've been testing it, and I do like it, but I think they're all playing it as a one-of for a reason, and I've never really wanted to play more than 1 copy of this card. You don't want it cluttering your hand, but this is a really easy card to evolve on top of. There are a lot of times where you'll be set to 5 memory off of a Sora Joe and a Davis, and you can play this for 2 and then make any other play in the deck for your 3 memory, and then do something to pass easily. This card is really, really good for memory management. But yeah, that's it for the Tamers. Again, you can side the Kojis out if you side out the Magnas and you want to keep some of the rookies in. The Magna package is a very, very flexible engine, so it's really nice. The Tamers, or the options, are the last cards in the deck. We play the obligatory 4 copies of Hammer Spark, the 1 Ice Wall, and I have a single copy of Howling Memory Boost. Would like to bump this card up. But really, this is another card that you don't want clogging up your hand too often, and you have a lot of ways to strip sources, so 1 is fine. This is the weakest card in your option lineup, so if you cut any of these cards for extra copies of Howling, that's kind of absurd, unless you just need more control. Because in the matchups where you need more control, this card is really good, but in the matchups that you need more control, you play Magna, so Magna is also really good for that. But this card definitely helps as well. So that's it for the main deck. For the sideboard, we got the 2nd Azulong, the 4th Madoki Beta. We got Aqua Viper. This card is absolutely insane in the mirror match. You bounce back your Korikakumons, and you keep looping them, and then you just make an absurd amount of dumb plays with this card. It's really nuts. And I'm going to put a 2nd copy of this in the sideboard, but I haven't decided whether I want to cut the Supreme Cannon or the Absolute Blast to do that. Both of these cards are pretty niche. Supreme Cannon is better, like for counter-siding purposes, because a lot of the times people are going to side in Floodgates like Madoki Beta and Gazi against you. And so if you side in Supreme Cannon, you can just play this and bounce them all back, and that's always super fun. But bouncing cards is pretty easy in this deck because of Beowulf, and because of Kendo, and because of Magnagarurumon. So I don't know if this card is really necessary. I might drop the Supreme Cannon for the 2nd copy of Aqua Viper. And Absolute Blast is really, really fun against like tower-based decks. It's always kind of nice to like swing with something, tap your Sora and Joe, strip its sources, and then play Absolute Blast, strip its last source, and then bottom deck it. Or if it has like a lot of sources, you know, you can drop a Tommy and then Absolute Blast it. There are a lot of ways to manipulate Digivolution sources in this deck, so this card becomes a 6 cost, just put anything on the bottom of the deck pretty easily. So I do like it, but I don't think I would include more than 2. That being said, I do like it at 1, so. But yeah, that's it for the sideboard. And that's it for the card choices of this list. Let me know what you guys thought down below. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So we will see you guys next time. Up next, we have an updated version for Jesmon for BT8. And I think we have 1 or 2 more decks that we're doing for BT7. Since the format has been extended a little bit. But we will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.